Hey everyone, thank you so much for the support you showed me on my latest video. You can see it up there if you haven't seen it yet. And I said in that video that I would be making another one about things I realized while my egg was cracking. And this is that video, but I just, I framed it a little bit better, I framed it better, I think. So for each of the 5 signs that I will share in this video that should have told me that I'm trans, I will be sharing a real life story from my life that should have told me that I'm trans. The first sign is about video games. So as many trans women probably also know about, have experienced, I guess it's rare that you want to choose the guy when you're a trans woman. So I also wanted to choose the girls. I always wanted to choose the girls. And I remember my first time booting up a Pokemon game. It was Pokemon Diamond. I had just gotten my Game Boy Advance. I'm pretty sure it was the Game Boy Advance. And I just bought it. I was in the car with my younger brother and my parents, of course. And I booted it up in the car while we were driving home. And eventually I got to the screen. I said, I think it was Professor Oak that said are you a boy or are you a girl? It was such an interesting question to be asked if I was a boy or a girl, because normally everyone just assumed I was a boy, but this professor from Pokemon actually asked me first. So thank you, professor, for asking. And I was like, oh my god, my brother is sitting next to me, and I know that if he sees first of all, if he sees that I'm about to choose this, he would probably think that it's weird that I'm choosing girl, so I need to choose it fast, because otherwise, well, maybe I won't even be able to choose it, because I won't be brave enough to choose the girl. So I was panicking. My instinct was telling me, okay, choose the girl right now. So I did that. I chose the girl, and then I chose Piplup as my Pokemon, my starter Pokemon, which in my opinion is the cutest starter Pokemon from that generation. I love, my Pokemon identity as a girl Pokemon trainer in that game. I was like, yes, this feels so good. I couldn't, of course, explain why it felt so good, but it really did. I always loved Pokemon since I saw it the first time in the TV. I was like, oh my god, this is so my jam. This is my jam. And I always loved the girls. The girls in Pokemon, they were so cute, so cute. And I just I looked up to them so much, and I just wished that I could be them. Didn't even phrase it to myself, but in retrospect, I can see, okay, I wanted to be them. I wanted to be the girls. Another funny story about this video game sign is that I also dreamt when I was a kid, I think I was 8 or something, I dreamt about Ash being my big brother, and I was his little sister in this dream. And it was literally my favorite dream as a kid. Every single time I would nap, then I would think about the dream and hope that I would dream it again. That was how much I loved that dream, because it was just such a great feeling, the euphoria I felt from that. And I do remember one scene in the dream where Ash would actually take his cap, and he would put it on me. I was shorter than him. It was so touching in that dream. He would just put his cap on me, and he would tell me that you're gonna be okay, and believe in yourself or something like that. I was so touched in that dream. I was crying, I think. I was 8 and I was crying my eyes out. I'm crying my eyes out. Okay, so the second sign is that I was always drawn to queerness, and back when I was a kid, I saw it as the rainbow flag. I didn't know it was called the pride flag back then, but I saw the rainbow flag and I was like, oh my god, this speaks to me in so many levels. I couldn't tell why. So when I first started learning about the LGBTQ plus movement as a kid, or LGBTQAI plus movement, then I was so on board with it from the very start. I saw it from internet things. I read some articles, I saw some videos, and I thought about a lot. It was in my brain. I had no idea how I would fit into the queer community, but I just somehow deep down in myself, I kind of felt that it was calling out to my true self. It was calling out to me, come, this is where I belong, kind of. And I felt that so deeply, and I couldn't tell what it was, but it was there. And then one day I enthusiastically told my dad about what I had learned about the queer community when we were outdoors at a cafe, sitting on some chairs and stuff with a table and stuff. And I was maybe like 12 or something, and he like, I could feel that he was so closed off to it. And like, I don't remember what exactly he told me after I shared that with him, but I do know that I never shared my feelings or interests in the queer community with him ever again. To this day, I still haven't been like formally integrated into the Danish queer community, so it's kind of sad actually to think about that. Well, if my dad just had, you know, been open to hearing my perspective, my like thoughts about the queer community, maybe it wouldn't have felt like so subconsciously taboo for me to explore the queer community and like myself in the queer sense. So yeah, that was sad. That was sad. But of course, after I recognized that I'm trans, now I am like actively trying to like work on finding friends and hopefully one day a found family in the queer community. So hopefully things are gonna work out for me. So this is sign number 3, which is that all the boys like in my high school, they really like loved football, and I secretly despised it. And don't get me wrong, because you know, girls can like and be amazing at football too, but like in my school it was very much associated with like a boy thing, you know, all the boys did it. I don't even know if there were any girls that played football in my school. There probably was, but at least I didn't hear about it. So like it was associated as a boy thing in my school, and even though I was actually one of the best at it, I really hated like the whole like toxic boys culture around it, because it was kind of like that my soul was saying to me that okay, I may need to mask as a boy like due to my current circumstances, but this thing not happening. I'm not doing that. I'm not like going out and pretending to like be like very toxic boy and like, you know, being like in with all the toxic jokes and stuff. That's not happening. I can't do that. So I think the only reason like why I got so good at football was probably because I really wanted to like get back at the boys that were bullying me at school, because they were like training at, you know, official football clubs, and when I was like, you know, dribbling around them and like getting the ball through their legs and stuff, it just felt so good to like be able to like beat them, I guess, in football, because they kind of beat me in bullying. I don't know, but deep down I really wished that I could just like go play like jump rope with the girls, because like every once in a while the boys would actually go and play jump rope with the girls if like the football field was occupied, and like for them they kind of did to like, you know, kind of invade the girls' space and like toxically show them like that they were better at jump rope for some reason. But for me it was really nice to like interact and play with the girls, even though that it was in this circumstance. Like I just really enjoyed it, and like when the girls then of course would win the game, because you know, not to say that boys can't be good at jump rope, but you know, just saying that they were playing it a lot more. So I would just be so happy for them, and like I would even like cheer for them a bit, even though like the boys would kind of look at me a bit weird. The 4th sign is that I refuse to cut my hair, because there was this one time in kindergarten where all the boys, they suddenly just wanted to have a buzz cut, and I don't really know why. I think it was just in fashion or something. But you know, I was already kind of a freak back then in kindergarten. So I just really want to fit in, you know. I just want to be like part of the groups in kindergarten. I just want to fit in. Literally, I was sitting in like the sofa all the day when I was in kindergarten. I sat in the sofa, stared like blankly into the void of the room. That was like how traumatized I was back then. I told my mom like, okay, I want to have this buzz cut because I want to like fit in and stuff. She of course allowed me to get the buzz cut, and then I think I've never actually been like so freaking mortified by having a haircut in my entire life. I got the buzz cut, and I was like inside, I was feeling like I was dying, you know. I felt like I was dying kind of. And I felt like deeply wrong like during that period when I had that buzz cut. And so after that, I really swore to myself that okay, I will never cut my hair again. I swore that to myself, and even though like over time I kind of forgot the original oath, but you know, the trauma was really sticking to me. But having long hair was actually kind of double-sided actually for me, because it was kind of the closest thing that I could get to feeling like feminine, and yet like I was still being perceived as, you know, a boy with long hair. Still, even though this was the case, it did actually feel better for me to like have this long hair rather than like fully blending in with the boys. So I stuck with it like all until I became an adult actually. But it wasn't actually easy though, because like one day my parents, they actually wanted me to cut it. And so in defiance, I actually crawled up in like the tallest tree in our whole yard. And I stayed there for like hours until eventually they agreed to let me keep my hair. They weren't being like, you know, aggressive about it or like being overly toxic or anything. They were just like probably just worried for me and like had their own reasons to be worried for me for some reason. But yeah, this isn't actually the tall tree that I climbed up in, but here you can see my hair while I keep my face private. For some reason, I always like had a knack for climbing trees. I like that. The fifth sign is that I actually could not deal with the locker room. Like, I could not deal with it. So when we had to like take gym classes in my primary school, I believe it's called in American, I was immediately like so mortified because I did not want to like be all alone with like virtually no friends in like a locker room filled with stinky, like rowdy boys. I didn't like most boys in my class. Only some of the timid or like actually interesting ones I did like a bit. But most of all, like I hated being perceived as like one of the boys. So when I had to like go into the locker room with the boys and change with them, I kid you not, I still have traumas like for some of the horrific moments that happened to me during some of those locker room sessions. It was crazy. But eventually I went to my mom and I told her that, okay, Mom, this is too much. I can't deal with this. This is too much. Please get me out of these locker room situations. It's too much. And to this day, like she still doesn't understand that it had to do with me being trained. But one thing that she did understand, or rather that she couldn't stand, was seeing her child in pain. Like she could tell from the way I told it to her that I was being honest. So we eventually had a meeting with my teachers and they allowed me to change and take showers at home for the remainder of the year. But when I got a little older, like I had to do it again. And I still remember like going into the locker room again for the first time and like I was completely like in survival mode. I was thinking like constantly, okay, I just need to get through this. And thankfully, like I don't need to deal with it anymore because, well, of course I'm an adult now and I can like avoid going to like changing rooms, like locker rooms and stuff for like the sake of avoiding, you know, needing to be in the men's changing room, which is horrifying for me. It's horrifying. I don't like it, and I think many trans people can like probably relate to this. I mean, let me know, guys, in the comments if you relate. I think you relate. You relate, right? So that was all of the 5 signs that should have told me that I'm trans, and well, eventually they did. I just need a bit of time to, you know, figure out how to read them. So if you're new on this channel, feel free to like and subscribe if you like to see more videos like these, and let me know in the comments if there was anything especially you related to, or like anything you'd like me to know, or like to tell me and stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all a great day and a continuous happy Pride Month. And with that, I'll say bye, stay safe, and take care, biscuits.